Hey there, and welcome to Scandal Steep. You really can't ignore it, no matter how much some folks have tried. The images are out there, the videos are public, and the internet never forgets. Lori Harvey and Sean Diddy Combs were undeniably seen together, and not just once or twice. The most shocking sighting, by far, was when they were photographed strolling through Italy with none other than Steve Harvey, Lori's stepfather, also in tow. What made the moment even more bizarre? Diddy's presence at a family dinner, seated comfortably across from Steve and his wife, Marjorie. If that wasn't a visual contradiction to everything Steve has ever preached about family values and protection, it's hard to say what is. The rumors had already been swirling before that infamous trip. Whispers of Lori dating Diddy's son, Justin Combs, had circulated through the entertainment world like wildfire. Then came the talk that she had moved on from Justin to his father, Diddy. It was the kind of story that tabloids dream about, and it seemed too outlandish to be true, until the photos confirmed it. By that point, silence from Steve Harvey became the loudest sound of all. To many, Steve had always been the voice of reason in pop culture, a man who built his empire on clean comedy, gospel-tinged advice, and family-oriented talk shows. He was the author of best-selling books like Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, a guide for women navigating love and relationships. He positioned himself as the man who knew what a real man should be, how a woman should be cherished, and how a father should protect his daughter. That's why the sight of Diddy, nearly 50 at the time, walking hand in hand with 22-year-old Lori in matching outfits on a romantic stroll left such a bitter taste. This wasn't just about gossip, it was about image, and Steve Harvey had sold the world a very specific one. Public reaction was swift and harsh. Memes flooded timelines. Think pieces were published. Fans and critics alike asked the same question. How could the man who built his brand on moral high ground sit across the dinner table from his daughter's much older rumored boyfriend and say nothing? Nick Cannon, never shy with his opinions, went viral after he expressed what many were already thinking. To each his own, he said, but I'd feel like I failed as a father if I was sitting across from a man my age who was dating my daughter. It stung because it felt like the truth. What happened to all of Steve's speeches? The talks about young women understanding men's intentions? About fathers being the first line of defense against the wolves of the world? Suddenly, it seemed that the very man who claimed to protect and uplift women had nothing to say when the world watched his daughter become part of a troubling headline. Some fans tried to rationalize his silence. Maybe Steve didn't know. Maybe he wasn't involved. But how could that be? He was there, in the pictures, smiling. Others took a darker view. They wondered if Steve had signed off on the relationship, or at the very least chose not to challenge it for the sake of maintaining powerful ties in the entertainment industry. After all, Diddy isn't just a celebrity. He's a mogul with far-reaching influence, someone whose presence can open doors or quietly close them. Was Steve protecting his daughter or his position? The silence didn't just raise eyebrows, it sparked conversations about parental boundaries, power dynamics, and how women, especially young black women, are often left to fend for themselves in a world that pretends to protect them. By October 2019, the fairy tale narrative seemed to collapse as suddenly as it began. Lori quietly unfollowed Diddy on Instagram. Their public appearances ceased. No statements were released, no interviews were given, and no social media drama followed. They vanished from each other's digital lives like two characters whose storyline had reached a hard stop. But those paying close attention noticed that Lori's life began to shift. She wasn't just walking away from a relationship, she was walking away from a narrative. One that had cast her as the silent young woman romantically involved with a man old enough to be her father, one who had also reportedly dated her ex. There was never any public confession. Lori never did the sit-down interview or podcast tell-all, yet her actions spoke louder than words. After the split, she pivoted towards self-worth messaging. Her interviews became more focused on knowing one's value, setting boundaries, and protecting peace. It didn't take much to read between the lines. People started to ask, was Lori just a social climber, using relationships for visibility? Or was she someone surviving a toxic situation, using silence as a shield? Those who initially mocked her began to see her differently. Not as manipulative, but as strategic. Not as reckless, but as guarded. Then came the breaking point. In 2023, shocking video footage emerged from a 2016 incident involving Diddy and his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. The surveillance video showed a violent altercation that couldn't be spun or dismissed. Diddy, a man with a long history of alleged abuse and manipulation, was seen dragging, kicking, and assaulting Cassie in a Los Angeles hotel hallway. That moment shifted everything. Suddenly, past rumors became part of a deeper, more sinister pattern, and Steve Harvey's silence took on a different meaning. Now, in 2025, as Diddy faces serious federal charges involving sexual trafficking, abuse, and coercion, attention has returned not just to his alleged victims, but to those who stood nearby and said nothing. Steve Harvey, once celebrated as a voice of moral clarity, is among them. Why didn't he speak up when the world was watching? Why didn't he protect Lori? Was he unaware or unwilling? These questions won't go away. Not when Diddy is on trial. Not when the stories of over 120 people alleging harm are being brought forward. And certainly not when Lori Harvey, now one of the most discussed women in pop culture, has become a symbol of silence, survival, and speculation.